All right, well, welcome everyone. Good morning and welcome to today's webinar on the tools and knowledge education products from Stockscores.com. My name is Tyler Ballhorn. I'm the founder of Stockscores, and today I'm going to walk you through the different tools that I've built over the years. I've been teaching trading and developing tools for over 20 years. I've been a stock trader for over 30 years, and I went out and built my own tools because I wasn't finding what I needed elsewhere. And along the way, I had to subsidize the cost of those tools. I'll share the cost with you later on. I'll tell you actually what these things cost to build, and you'll see that they're quite expensive. And so it was often subsidized by teaching, and I still teach a small number of people every year, and we'll talk about that because I am going to be doing another course here coming up in about a week or two. All right, so that's sort of the overview of why I do these things. These tools are very expensive. Let's talk about what we're going to do in this webinar. I'm going to show you how I can save you time and money as you work towards better investment performance in the stock market, or if you choose to make a career out of trading. And you can make it part-time or full-time. I'll talk about sort of how that can happen for you. Now, I taught myself how to trade the stock market. When I started trading back in the 90s, actually late 80s, there wasn't anyone really teaching. There was a couple books about futures trading, and I pretty much just taught myself. And as I talked about in the webinars earlier this week, I just started by reverse engineering the stock market. Well, that process took me 8 years before I was really successful. I was a student in university and learning the markets as I went through a business degree. I have a degree in finance from the University of Calgary, and I was teaching myself the markets through that, but still it took me 8 years before I really got successful. And then something just clicked. I started to focus on the things I'm going to talk about today. I learned how to manage risk better, and I turned about $30,000 into $500,000 in 3 months, and that sort of kicked off my trading career. It also helped fund Stockscores.com, which is my website. The tools that I have there are tools that I created to satisfy my own needs, because my strategies are based on this concept of abnormal activity, and there really wasn't, and there still isn't, tools out there that do what my tools do. And so I had to build it, and that's expensive. It cost me at least $250,000 to build those tools on Stockscores. And then I've built more since then. So, and I'll show you those tools today. And that's a big part of what we'll do today, is take you through these tools that really give us an edge in trading and investing. Now, one of the reasons why I only teach, 100 people a year is because I don't actually want this to be a big business. I don't want lots of people to use these tools, because if too many people use them, then you have this group of people all chasing after the same stocks at the same time as me, and it takes away the opportunity. So, by teaching a small number of people, it's rewarding in many ways. It helps fund the different things I do, and it allows me to sort of give something back to people that aspire to be traders. I enjoy doing that. Trading is kind of a solo game where you're not really doing much for the world. So after many years of being by myself in front of a computer, you start to want to do something more than that. But the tools, they give us an edge because they're doing things that most tools don't do. And I'll explain that as we go through today. But I think the most important thing I'll do today is I'm going to demonstrate the process for getting into investing using my approach, or getting into day trading. What are you going to have to do step by step to get there? If you want to beat the market in your retirement portfolio and you decide you want me to help you do that, what are the steps to get there? If you want to make a living as a swing trader or as a day trader, what are the steps? How much time is it going to take? So those are all the kind of things that I'll try to show you today. All right, now let's talk first about stock scores for investors, and we call this position trading. So what is position trading, first of all? Position trading is where you buy a stock and you hold it for, I would say, at least 2 weeks, but more likely a couple of months. We're holding things in our retirement savings portfolios, or maybe we've got a TFSA type account, or in the US 401ks, that sort of thing. We're trying to just build a portfolio of stocks that we don't actively trade. You might do 10 to 20 trades a year, which is more active than most people, but we're also not, stuck to a computer screen. I would say that if you want to do this approach, once you've learned how to do what I do, it's going to take you 5 minutes a day, maybe 10 minutes a day. And if you don't want to do that, you could even just do it on the weekends. You could spend 15 minutes on the weekend managing your money, not only figuring out what stocks you want to buy next, but also whether you want to sell the holdings that you have, to readjust things. All right. So it's not super time intensive. You can put more time into it if you want. I mean, I enjoy the markets. I enjoy doing the analysis. But if you just want to manage your own money, like I say, it's 5 minutes a day, 15 minutes on a weekend. When you first start out and you're learning, it's going to be more like 20 minutes a day because you're going to be slower than you will once you've practiced a little bit. But the tools save us a lot of time. I said earlier that I built these tools to scratch my own itch. And, when I started, I was spending hours and hours looking for opportunities. I was using spreadsheets and newspapers and going through collecting data and all this stuff. And then if I wanted to look at a stock chart, this is back in the 90s, I would have to dial into a service, tell it what symbol I wanted. It would send me the data for that chart. Then I'd have to open that data in a chart program. It took a long time. Now I can do all of that in seconds, and we're going to do that today. I'll walk you through the process for how I would find a stock to buy, to hold for the next few months. All right. With position trading, it's quite dependent on what the market is like. So when the market is trending up in 2021, for example, it's super easy to find position trades. You could find 10 a day, and most of them worked because the market was moving higher. In 2022, we had a market that was moving downwards. And so it was quite hard to find things to buy. And instead, we had to take advantage of things that were going down by buying inverse ETFs. You could short sell as well, but for most people, short selling is not easy to do, not easy to get their mind around. And so, fortunately, the financial industry has created all of these instruments that go up when the market goes down. They're called inverse ETFs. And you can buy those just like you were buying a stock, and they go up when the market's going down. And so, for example, in the past month, you have an inverse ETF on the US biotech market. The symbol is LABD, and that's gone up. And there's a ETF for the small cap market in the US. So it's an inverse of the Russell 2000 index. The symbol for that is TZA. Go pull it up later. You can see that it's gone up while that market has gone down. So that's how you can capitalize when the market's going down. Now, position trading obviously takes less time commitment than active trading does, but we're going to walk through together the tools that I created to identify opportunities, and we're going to click on a couple buttons and it's going to give us a list very quick. And then we're going to assess that list together, and I'll show you which ones are good and which ones are bad and why. All right. And if you have an interest in buying stocks that pay dividends, you can do that. If you have an interest in only buying stocks that are above $5 because you don't have an interest in trading penny stocks, you can do that. The tool is quite flexible. And ultimately, our goal is to avoid big losses with good risk management. And so we'll try to find some examples where I will show you, okay, this is where your buy point is, but this is also where your sell point is, your stop loss point, because, and you might have to take my word for this because it doesn't seem to make sense, but the best investors in the world are good losers. They're good at taking losses. In fact, there's a book about it called The Best Loser Wins or something like that. And it's all about being able to take small losses when you're wrong and then have profits that really run when you're right. All right, so let's walk through the process. Let's say you decide, okay, I want to manage my own money, or at least I want to have an input with my financial advisor on the stocks that we're going to buy. Because at the end of the day, no one cares more about your money than you. All right. You can certainly have a financial advisor who can help you and give you some great advice. I don't dissuade people from doing that. But at the end of the day, every financial advisor has lots of clients. And if you want the best performance for your money, you should have an understanding of what's going on and an understanding of why you would avoid a banking stock right now, but maybe buy a small cap oil stock right now. All right. So let's sort of go through the process. So step one is you have to understand some basic theory. So when you register for one of my courses, the first thing you're going to do is log into Stockscores.com. You've registered for an investor membership on Stockscores. You're going to go to Trader Training, down to Education Center, and you're going to spend maybe a weekend or a couple nights a week, a few hours each night, going through the theory. All right. And this is interesting stuff, but it's not the exciting stuff. I won't, frame it any other way. At the end of the day, learning the 6 elements of chart patterns is not as exciting as knowing when to buy and when to sell, but you can't understand when to buy and when to sell if you don't understand these things first. Now, among this list of lessons, which is on the Stockscores Education Center, the ones that are most important are the first few. Like I would say these ones are important, this one is important, and this one's important, this is good. So those are the ones you'd want to focus on. So if you wanted to sort of get up and running as quickly as possible, those are the lessons you should go through. All together, that's maybe 5 or 6 hours of your time. And the way you do it is you read about it. And if you want to print it because you'd rather read it on paper, then you can do that as well. But it's all here. And it starts off with the basic concepts that we talked about earlier in the week when we did some webinars. I talked about inflection points. Okay, so here again, I teach the same concepts here. Start with inflection points. And then from that, we can start to define the 6 elements of chart patterns, understand what a trend line is and why it's important, understand what a falling top is and why that's important. And so once we've got this lesson, some people like to read, some people like to listen, depends on your learning style. So I've given you both. So you can also watch a video. I can click on this play button. You can do this on an iPad, on your phone. Got some snazzy music going. And then you get right into it, and there I am explaining the inflection points, right? And that's just one of the concepts in that video. All right, so that is your base theory. And as I pointed out, there's a number of lessons here in the foundation section, and you would want to do at least the first half. Now, one other thing that you get with the course right now, and I'll talk about this later on, is I will take you through this theory over the course of 2 evenings in something I call the Stockscores Express. It's like the express version of getting everything over 2 nights. So on, I think it's October 23rd, whatever the Monday is, Monday, October 23rd, Tuesday, October 24th, for an hour and a half each evening, I'm going to walk you through this. Not to say that you shouldn't watch the videos, but if you want it as quick and dirty as possible, that's going to be the way to do it. All right. So that's your base of understanding. Now, once you've done that, then you're going to start to focus on strategies. Now, I teach, I don't know, half a dozen investor strategies. You're not going to do them all. You're going to pick 1 or 2 that work well for your time commitment, your personality, that sort of thing. So if I go down to the investor section now, you can see that there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 strategies. All right. And then there's an exit strategy, which is sort of governs all of these. So the one that I recommend most people start with would be either the abnormal breaks or action breaks. They're kind of the same thing. If I click on this lesson, it's going to tell me what the concept is. If I watch the video, again, I can get a video that explains it. This particular video is 12 minutes long, so it's not a huge amount of your time to learn the rules. However, it does take time to learn. It's like any other skill, you have to practice it. We're going to do this together in just a moment, how you would apply one of these strategies, but recognize that it takes practice. And for that reason, I'm also going to do some sessions with you that week of the 23rd on Wednesday and Thursday and Friday, actually Saturday morning, Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday morning, we're going to do some market scans together. And then you're going to be expected to practice what I've shown you for a while. And as you do that practice, you have support from me. You can email me. I'm very good at answering email within 24 hours. And so if you do a market scan and you do your assessment of the results, like we're going to do in just a second, then you might say, oh, I thought that Camber Energy on the American Stock Exchange looked pretty good. Tyler, CEI for an action break, I think it's good. You can get my feedback on that. And when you start out, I think that that's a good idea because most people, when they start, are not fussy enough. Right? For every 5 stocks that a new student will pick, I find that I would only pick 1. And so it takes a little bit of time to get fussy, but that just takes practice. All right. So let's do it together. Let's scan the market. All right. We're going to jump back to the Stockscores website. We've studied our foundation material. Okay. And we've done a strategy. We're going to do the, we're going to do the simple weekly. This is the active trader. I need the investor. So we're going to do this one, Stockscores Simple Weekly Strategy. And the reason I'll do that today is because it's the strategy that you would apply if you only wanted to do your research on the weekends. You maybe want to make 10 moves in your portfolio in a year. You're not going to be very active. All right, this is the one to do. So the first thing you have to do for this strategy is set your default chart time frame to a 3-year weekly chart. All right, so I'm going to go in here. I'm just going to pull up the chart of Microsoft. And you can see that right now, this is a 240-day daily chart. All right, I want to change that. I want to make the default chart a 3-year weekly chart. So to do that, I go down to the chart options section. I'm going to click on that. And here I can change this from daily to weekly and from 8 months to 3 years. For this strategy, that's the time frame that we're going to analyze. All right, so now you can see my chart on Microsoft is a weekly chart going back 1,095 days, basically 3 years. All right, so and if I bring up any chart from now on, if I bring up the Toronto Stock Exchange chart, T.XIU, it is also a weekly chart because I've changed the default. All right, so let's do a market scan for the Stockscores Simple Weekly, and we'll do it on the Canadian market. Okay, so I've got all these presets here. You don't have to do any setting up of the market scan tool unless you want to, but you can simply choose Stockscores Simple Weekly Canada. Click on that and run the scan. It just went through every stock listed on the Canadian market and it found the 20 that meet the rules of the strategy, but we still have to go through the chart to see if they have the right pattern. And of this 20, most of them will not be good enough. Okay, but it's easier to look through 20 stocks than it is to look through 2,000, obviously. Okay, so we've got 20 stocks that we are going to now look through, and we have 2 choices to view them. We can view in the gallery viewer, which is 10 charts per page, and it looks like this. Okay, so we've got lots of charts on the page, and once you're good at reading charts, this is how I would recommend you do it because it's faster. But when you're starting out, it's easier to have a full-size chart, which we call the slideshow view. All right, and it's much bigger, easier to read. Okay, so then it becomes a matter of looking for what you have been taught in the Education Center, right? So in the Education Center, in the strategy document, it tells you what to look for. And with this particular strategy, you're looking for a stock that breaks out from a predictive pattern. So an ascending triangle, a pennant pattern. There's about a dozen different patterns that I teach, but we're looking for a break from that. Okay, this stock doesn't have it. You can see already it doesn't. It's got good stock scores. You can see the sentiment score is 65, and that's because the stock has been generally moving up for the past year, but it really is not a great looking chart. It's not a very actively traded stock. So I'm going to go on to the next one. All right. So here I have a stock which has broken this week from a pennant pattern. traded very big volume, 15 million shares. I guess it's not that big for a 40-cent stock, 50-cent stock, but that's a pretty good setup. It's got abnormal volume, abnormal price, and it breaks from a pennant pattern. So if I was going to buy this, the only downside is that it moved so much this week that the difference between the entry price, which I will draw here in green, okay, the entry price is right here, and the support price, the stop loss price, which I will draw in red, is quite big. That's 52 cents. And our stop loss on this would be at 19 cents. Obviously it's a penny stock. So that's my only reservation. I would probably wait for this stock to make a pullback first, because it's gone up so much that it's quite likely that it will pull back. Now, there was one other buy point on this chart. It occurred here when the stock broke through resistance, right there, with abnormal volume. It was the strongest volume of any day going back on this chart. That was back in, I think, November, December of 2022 at 13 cents, and now it's 52 cents. So it's made a big move already. There was also another strategy met when it broke this pullback. We call this a pullback play, and it broke it right here. So that would have been another entry point. And these are all different strategies and approaches that, again, you will learn in the Education Center. So I'll give this a 6 out of 10 today. I think it's good, but maybe a little bit extended already. So that's my only reservation on it. All right, so we can continue to go through these and look for opportunities. Here's a uranium stock, but it's right at the downward trend line. So I'm not interested in buying that now. Even though it's made good gains the last 2 months, I think it's probably going to get stuck. This stock made its breakout through resistance right here. You can see the spike of volume there. That was at 325. Now it's at 370. All right, you don't have to babysit these things. You don't have to watch them, all day, every day. All you check is whether it has a reason to move your support price up, your exit point. And so just to walk you through that, again, this is something you learn in the exit strategy concept video. We're going to buy here. Our stop loss is going to be down there. And now that it's just broken through to new highs, I would move my sell point up to here. So now I'm not going to take a loss on it unless it were to gap down through support. But that doesn't happen very often. So I've sort of locked in my profit by putting in a stop at $3.38. And currently the stock's at 370, and the buy point was at 325 or so. All right. This stock looks good to continue higher. I would give this a 6 out of 10. I think it's likely to continue upward. I just would have preferred to have bought it, in the lower price range there when it just started to move up. Okay, let's look at a few more. Athabasca, well into its upward trend, too late. When did this upward trend start? Well, way back here, abnormal volume, abnormal price, and breaking from low volatility. That was at 25 cents. Now the stock's at 420. It broke out from a pennant pattern right here. So that's what that other stock that we just looked at did just now. It took a while. That took 6 months before it really got going, but that's position trading. Sometimes it takes longer. And then, of course, on the front side here, it really had a nice run through that time period. Okay, we'll look at a couple more. I'm hoping I can find something good. This is not bad, breaking out of a pennant. But again, I feel like the buy point was back here, abnormal price, abnormal volume. And that's part of what these scanners look for, is that kind of trading activity. All right, so that is the process. And you can see that I'm going through these pretty quickly. Here's one that was a really good buy 2 months ago, right there. This is called a bottom fishing pattern. So there's a downward trend, build of a rising bottom, break through resistance from low volatility, abnormal price, abnormal volume. That was at 1050. Now it's at 1250. Okay. So that is how we scan the market, how we identify our investments. And let's go back to that last example and just talk about risk management. So if I'm buying this here at 1050, I'm going to plan to lose if it goes below this inflection point low at 775. So the difference between that is our risk per share. So what is that? 275 a share in risk, 775, 1050, yeah, 275 a share in risk. So if I buy 100 shares, my risk is $275, assuming I can get out at the stop loss price. And I say that because every once in a while, a stock will actually gap down through your stop. And then every once in a while, you'll take a larger loss than you planned for. But usually you're going to have a loss around that size. Now, of course, we don't want to lose. I'm not saying we try to do that by any means. We just have to plan for it, because that's what makes a real investor separate from sort of one who's gambling. Okay. And so in this case, now we're moving up nicely, and probably the stock is headed to 16, where it'll run into some resistance. And I think along the way, it might pull back a little bit, but that's sort of my expectation. All right, so that's the risk management component. Now on the sell side, we sell when support is broken. So for example, over here on the left side of this chart, if I drew a trend line here, I can see that there's falling tops, and I broke down through support. That's one sell signal. And again, in the exit signals video and lesson, I explain those kind of things. We also have a method where we sell based on the width of the lines. It's called a trailing stop method, or trail by 2 until 5, trail by 1, different methods that you will learn in the course material on when to sell these things. And on the sell side, you got to spend 5 minutes either a day or a week to see if the stock gave a sell signal. If it did, then you go to your broker the next day and you sell. It's not very time consuming, and it's all based on logic, these rules that we have. All right, so that's stock scores for investors. Now let's switch gears and talk about active trading. For those who want to day or swing trade, we have strategies. You can do full-time or part-time. Day trading, as a reminder from Wednesday's webinar, is about buying and selling within the day. So you're out by the end of the day. And swing trading is buying and selling within a 2-week period. Usually it doesn't go 2 weeks. Usually it's more like 2 to 5 days. So you buy today and you might sell sometime in the next 5 days. Day trading is pretty much full time. You could do it just in the mornings because most of the action happens in the morning. So I have some students that might trade just the opening couple of hours. And but certainly you can do it all day. And if you do it all day, you're just going to have more potential opportunities to trade. Swing trading, you don't have to do all day. You could if you wanted. As a breakdown, if I get in a typical trading day, I will get 15 swing trading signals. 15. Sometimes it's 10, sometimes it's 20, but 15. Of those 15, my favorite signals are what's called an alpha echo. And the alpha echo, I might get 2 to 5 a day. Of the 2 to 5 a day, almost all of them come in the first hour. And so the beauty of swing trading is you really could and capture 80% of the signals if you just traded the opening hour of the day. And so I'll show you how I do this in just a minute. I'm going to walk you through the process, but that's sort of your time commitment. Now, when I talk about full-time or part-time, what I mean by that is not only how much time each day do you spend, is it the whole day or is it just the opening hour, but also, with day trading, you don't have to day trade every day. For example, I have quite a few students, a surprising number actually, that are firemen or firewomen, fire people. And they have a schedule that typically has them work 2 days during the day, 2 nights, and then they get 4 days off. And so because of that shift work, they can have a couple days a week where they can day trade full time. And then maybe the other days they might only swing trade because they can't be as committed with their time to it as they might be when they're day trading. So there's lots of flexibility in it. The beauty of day trading and swing trading is you don't have to be in things all of the time. You can just be in cash. You can go on a vacation, sit in cash, come back, get back to it. The reason you can have much bigger returns with active trading is because by putting in your time you can turn your capital over more often, and that increases your overall return. So how do you do it? Well, again, you have to understand the base theory. So if we were to jump back to the Stockscores website, and again, just as a review, you go to the Education Center, and you're going to start by learning this stuff. Okay, now with day trading, time frame confirmation becomes a little more important, scaling a little more important, although not essential. But again, you're going to spend between 5 and 10 hours going through this, depending on how quickly you can learn it. I used to teach this stuff in a weekend, so this would be day one. In a 8-hour day, you know, we'd have lunch and everything, but when I taught it live in a classroom, we did it in a day. All right. Once you've done that, then you're going to start learning the strategies that will tell you when to buy, when to sell, how to manage risk, and the process, the step-by-step process, which I will show you in just a moment. All right, and that is done in the Active Trader section, where you've got all of the lessons. So the Alpha Echo, superheroes, pullbacks. We're not really doing the wave a lot. Pullback strategy, hit and run, the day trader strategy, the simple swing. There's a lesson on when to sell. That's the Active Trader exit strategy. And then there's 2 more videos here, because one of the tools that you can use, you don't have to use, but it does give you, I think, an advantage in the market, is a program called TradeStation. TradeStation is a piece of software that I've been using since, 25 years. It's a great piece of software for analyzing the market. And the thing that it does well is it allows you to create your own indicators. And I have created my own indicators for 2 reasons. One, I don't want to do what everyone else is doing, because if I do, then I should get what everyone else gets. So I created my own indicators so that I can have an edge. And then the second reason is I just haven't found any other indicators that do what I figured out 30 years ago, well, 25 years ago, when I first started trading around abnormal activity. All right, so let's do it together a little bit here. So what we're going to do now is we're going to jump into my Active Live screen. So Active Live is a service from Stockscores only available to active trader members of Stockscores, where we have computer algorithms identifying opportunities in real time during the trading day. That's a long description, but essentially it's telling us which stocks are making abnormal moves. All right, and I'll touch more on this in a little later in the presentation, but if I'm watching this, I can see what stocks are abnormal on different time frames. So for example, right here you see TANH at 10:46 a.m. made an action candle. So if you were in Active Live, you would get there's a little alert window that pops up down here. You don't see it now, but it pops up and it'll say TANH Day Trader Finder. It might give a signal later after that for a swing trade on TANH or a IPB trade, which is another strategy, right? So we have all these different strategies that are covered. That's what each one of these windows are for, is for different strategies. This is for the hit and run strategy. This is for the intraday pullback strategy. This helps us with our superheroes, different strategies for different things. All right, so let's now take a look at TANH. Go to the Active Live 1 minute, and I'm going to pull up TANH and show you why it was a stock worth trading. Now remember, I've said to you that we want to identify stocks that are trading abnormally. So this stock first started to behave abnormally at 10:46. That's what that indicator said, which is right in here. Okay, the volume was increasing and the stock started to move up. So that was our day trader entry. That particular entry on this stock was not ideal. I'd give it a 6 out of 10. So I actually wouldn't buy that initial one. However, later in the morning, it gave another strategy called an intraday pullback right here. And you can see that I've already drawn some lines on this for us. So the entry price is 221. I know it's a little hard to see on this screen, but I'll read out the prices for you. So it's 221, and the support price is 201, and our actual stop would be at 190, which we would actually round down to 189. We always put our stops a little bit below a psychological barrier. Okay, so let's do our risk management. It's roughly 20 cents a share in risk. So I roughly have 20 cents a share in risk. So that means if I buy 1,000 shares, my risk is $200. Okay, if I'm willing to lose $500, then my position size will be 2,500 shares, since my risk per share is 20 cents. All right, so I'm going to jump into my brokerage account and buy 2,500 shares at a price of $220. So it's going to cost roughly $5,500. All right. Now, if you don't want to risk $500, if you only want to risk $200, then you're only going to buy 1,000 shares. If you only want to risk $100, how many shares are you going to buy? 500, right? So this is all stuff that I teach you, but this is pretty simple stuff. Okay, so we're buying 2,500 shares right here. For the next, looks like about half an hour, the stock does nothing, but it also does not go down through this floor where I would have to take a loss. So I'm going to stick with this trade. And then right here, it starts to go again. And it goes up significantly over the next hour, hour and a half. Our sell point, our sell signal, using the rules of the exit strategy that I teach you, is right there. And at that point, we're earning 6 times risk. I know it says 700% there, but it's actually 6 times risk. You can count the lines. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I was risking $500, which means each one of these lines is worth $500. So 500, 1,000, 1,500, 2,000, 2,500, $3,000. So at my exit, I am making roughly $3,000 on a trade that required $5,500 in capital. Now, sometimes you can leverage your money. When you're day trading, you can often leverage your money by 3, but the brokers won't let you leverage a stock under $3. Some will let you under 3, but as long as it's over 2. So some brokers, the threshold is $2, some is $3, but let's assume no leverage. So we made $3,000 on a $5,500 trade. But more importantly, the way we calculate our performance is we look at reward for risk. So this made 6 times risk. Now, before we started talking today, we were just having a casual conversation before I started the presentation. I said that your goal for the week is to make 10 times risk. You can make 10 times risk on average, week in and week out. You can make a great living in the market, because all you do is increase your risk per trade. So if you're making 10 and you're risking $100 per trade, that's your risk tolerance, right? Then at the end of the week, you've made $1,000. Let's say you're good at that level. You do that for a few weeks. Now increase your risk to $200. Okay, and you continue to average 10 times risk. So now you're averaging $2,000 a week. Let's say you have a bad week and you actually lose $1,000. Okay, drop your risk down from 200 back down to 100, or 100 down to 0 and just paper trade. A big part of what I teach, the number one goal, is capital preservation. And so we start slow, we start with a small amount of risk, and we slowly increase our risk as we are successful. As you learn how to, just like if you're learning how to skate, right? When you first start skating, pretty wobbly, and then after a couple of weeks, you can get around the ice pretty good. And then eventually you're fast. And, I have an 11-year-old who plays hockey. When he first started, he laid on his back on the ice and made snow angels. Today, he can skate unbelievably well. He can skate faster than me. And so, that's like anything. It just takes time to learn. Okay, so that is the basic breakdown of how you would day trade. Now let's change gears and talk about swing trading. So we're going to go back to the Stockscores website for a moment, and we're going to focus on the Alpha Echo strategy. Okay, so the Alpha Echo is a swing trading strategy that utilizes the same concept as the day trade strategy, except it's on the 13-minute interval. So I'm going to go back into this charting program, and we're going to pull up a stock that was a good trader this past week, if I can remember the symbol, here it is, MNTS. Okay, we don't want to look at a 1-minute chart anymore. We're going to look at the 13-minute chart. So in active live, let me show you this first. Go back here and, go here on this dashboard. See this window right here that says swings? Okay, so on, I think it was Thursday. Was it Thursday? Pretty sure it was Thursday. Yes, on Thursday, right here, it made an action candle. See this little yellow dot here? That's one of my own indicators that I've created for TradeStation. And it gave us a signal that this stock was making an abnormal price gain with abnormal volume. Now, if I had been watching this stock, I would have said, oh, I got to buy that. The problem is there are thousands of stocks to watch. How do you know which one is worth watching at any one moment? Well, that's where these windows come in, because the computer is doing the work for us. It's going to monitor the entire US stock market. And by the way, for this particular type of trading, we mostly trade the US market because it's way more actively traded. I know many people here are from Canada. You don't have to worry about tax problems or, the only thing you have to really be concerned about is foreign exchange, but there's some tricks around that as well that I teach people about how you don't have to incur the currency exchange back and forth. All right, so MNTS on Thursday, this is Friday's data, but on Thursday, MNTS was one of the candidates on this screen. And so I then took a look at it because I get a little alert. I go to the 13-minute chart of MNTS. I can see that it meets the requirements. It's making an action candle, breaking a pullback on a stock that was abnormal in the recent past. Back on September 29th, this stock was very abnormal. That told me that that stock had captured the excitement of the crowd on that day. All right, so I'm going to buy. Let me get my mouse here. I'm going to buy right here, and I'm going to plan to lose right there. This stock went up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I'm just roughly drawing the lines. We have tools that will draw the lines exactly. And in this case, using that exit method that I teach, your exit point was right around here at 8 times risk. That means if you risked $100, you made $800. If you risked 50, you made $400. If you risked 1,000, you made $8,000. So I think you all get the idea here. It's a pretty simple arithmetic. All right, but you couldn't do that if you didn't know the rules of the strategy, and you couldn't do that if you didn't have a computer program telling you when that was happening. So that's where our active live service comes in. TradeStation is nice to have, and if you have TradeStation, it costs $99 a month, so not everyone wants to do that, but I think it's well worth it, to be frank. If you had TradeStation, you would get that little print there. You would be able to see that little dot. But again, without this screen where you're automatically given those signals in real time, you might miss it. You might not catch it until it's too late. So it's really important to let the computer do the work, because the computer obviously can monitor thousands of stocks, whereas we individually might be able to monitor 10 or 20, right? So the computer really helps us to do that. Okay, so continuing along, we're utilizing well-tested strategies, and believe me, they are very well-tested. I build up these databases of thousands and thousands of examples where the rules were met, and then I calculate the performance over those things. Okay, so the rules for when to enter, when to exit, risk management, and the process, the step-by-step process for executing those trades. So you have to understand the basic theory, learn the strategies on the website. Utilize my tools, whether you're on Active Live or whether you're using TradeStation. You can use your own charting program if you like TC2000 or TraderView charts, TradingView charts. You can do that as well. But my TradeStation code, which gives you those action candle indicators and a number of other important ones, it only works in TradeStation. It doesn't work in other programs, unfortunately. So we've talked about the swing trading process, the day trading process. This is a real important thing right here. Support from me. I am on Active Live every day for the opening half an hour and last half an hour. Some days I'm there longer, but that's the minimum. So every day I'm coaching you. Every day I'm showing you the stocks to watch. The reason I'm on every morning in the opening half an hour is because even though this is all automated, at 9:43, which is the opening candle for swing trades, you can see here these times. It says right there 9:43. It's very busy at 9:43. I often have to go through like 50 charts in 3 minutes. And because I've done this a long time, I can go through them pretty fast and find the best candidates. So I think that's one time of the day when people need my help. After 9:43, really after the opening half an hour, there's only, like, if you're doing the swing trades, there's only maybe 5 to look at every 15 minutes, every 13 minutes. So it's not that demanding anymore. But in the opening half an hour, it's quite demanding in terms of doing it. So what'll happen is I'm going through these charts on I have a second computer in front of me. I'm going through those charts very quick and I'm calling out trades. So I'll go CEI type 3, INDO, not good enough, DRS type 2, and these types mean something. So CEI type 3, CEI is the alpha, or type 3 is the alpha echo strategy. So if I call out type 3 on CEI, that's because right here it's breaking from that pattern. So right there, it was breaking a pullback. It's a stock that's been in play. And so I would call it out if it was, well, actually 9:43, it did it as well, but it wasn't quite through our line yet, so it wasn't ideal. And that's what I'm doing for the opening half an hour to help everyone in Active Live. After that, it's not that difficult. When you get a new symbol come up here on this screen, when you get a new symbol at 12:32, for example, you just look at it. Normally this is sorted by time. So 2:55 FLNG comes up. Okay, I got to look at that chart. Is it good? Does it satisfy the rules? Yes or no? Most of them don't, but some of them do, and the ones that do are the ones we buy. All right, moving along. So that's what Active Live is all about. It's a real-time live webinar, automated instant trade signals. My computers and I are doing the work to find the trades so you can focus on making them. You don't have to be on Active Live if you don't want to be. It costs $245 a month, assuming you are an active trader member, but you're getting coaching from me. I'm picking stocks for you. I'm answering your questions every day. I'm doing a trade review every day of all the trades that were valid that day. And my people in Active Live will ask me for my critique of their trades. It's well worth the cost. And the reason that's good to do this is because you don't have to do the manual work to identify trades. You know, everything's about managing time. And so if you have less to do because the computer is doing a lot of the work for you, then you can focus on actually making the trades. And again, that's the Active Live screen. We've talked about that already. So what do you need to succeed? Whether you want to be an investor or a trader, part-time or full-time, you need to know what to look for. And so my answer to that is what I teach you in the Stockscores Education Center. You need to have a tool to find it. So we have the market scan tool, we have the Active Live service, and we have my indicators for TradeStation if you should choose to use TradeStation. I think it's really helpful to have support. You know, it took me 8 years to figure things out because I didn't have anyone to teach me. And I can teach you all the things that I've learned the hard way by giving you support. I only teach a small number of people every year, and that allows me to be the person that you are communicating with. I don't have staff that are dealing with my customers. I have staff that run our websites and everything else, but when it comes to running Active Live or answering your questions, that's me. Then what you have to bring is you have to have money to trade with. You have to have the discipline to do what I tell you to do, and you have to do the work. There's just no replacement for watching the videos and reading what I've written and asking me questions when you have a question. Now, if you wanted to do this yourself, think about the costs. Market scan tool, that cost me at least $250,000, and that was 20 years ago, and I've added to it since then. Active Live, those indicators that I've created, building all of that has taken me hundreds of hours and probably $10,000 of programming. My TradeStation indicators, $10,000 that I paid to programmers, because I'm not a programmer myself. I've had to hire people to program the math that I give them. So it's way cheaper to do it this way than to try to do it yourself. But that's how I did it, because nobody else had made these things for me. So our tools, we have the market scan tool. On Stockscores, we also have charting tools, and this is free. So if you want to know the score on a stock you're interested in, I could pull up T.IPO, which I think is a decent oil stock. I can see it's got a score of 72, and its stock score is improving. So you can check that out. If I don't want this to be a weekly chart, I can click on 6 month, daily. Now it's a daily chart. If I want to see the intraday chart, I can go 1 month, 10-minute chart, or 1 month hourly chart. So it's very quick and easy. If you want to draw on our charts, go to interactive chart, and there's a little drawing tool right here. So you can draw trend lines if you want. Now, the other thing that you see me doing is I'm drawing on this screen with my finger on my touchscreen computer. I'm doing that with a program called Zoomit, Z-O-O-M-I-T, Zoomit. And so it's a handy little free application you can get from Microsoft. Just Google Zoomit download, Z-O-O-M-I-T download, and you can use that as well. Okay, we have the ability to create your portfolio on Stockscores. You go into charts, you can portfolio creator, watch list creator. These are free tools. You have to register on Stockscores to use them, but they're free. The paid tool is basically the market scan, and then of course the education. All right, almost done. So what are the costs? So if you get the investor membership, you get access to the foundation lessons on the Stockscores Education Center. You get access to the investor strategies, access to the market scans for investing, email support from me, and 6 months access to our tools. So the market scan tool, the other member-only tools. After that, your annual cost is 300 Canadian dollars a year. The process: you run the scan, you inspect the charts, if you see one you like, you do your risk management, pick your entry points, monitor your holdings, that's 5 minutes a day or 5 minutes a week, and then you do your exits. And when you have finished a trade, it's a good idea to journal them so that you can learn from the things you've done in the past. The active trader membership is all of those things that I've just talked about with the investor. So the foundation lessons, the investor strategies, but then you also get the active trader strategies. And you also get access to the active trader market scans. You still get email support from me. And then these are the indicators for TradeStation, which is optional. You don't have to use them, but they're included. And it makes you eligible for Active Live. Only those who are active trader members of Stockscores can use Active Live. In addition, starting October 23rd, I'm going to do some live training to get you up to speed quicker. So on Monday and Tuesday for an hour and a half each evening, I'm going to teach you the theory. And then Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday, we're going to practice doing market scans together. For those who are active trader students, at any time you can subscribe for free for 1 month of Active Live. So you get a free month. It's based on calendar months. So start of November till the end of November. We always start on the first Monday. And so if you study in October, you could, if you wanted, start Active Live on November, the first Monday in November. But if you wanted to wait until January, you can wait till January. It's up to you. There's no limit to how long until you use your free month. But don't waste time, like get up and running as soon as you can. And I'm going to be coaching you every day. We build the watch list together in the first half an hour. We review trades at the end of the day. I call out the swing trades because there's just so many that you have to consider in the opening half an hour that I help by just calling them out. All of these classes are recorded, so you don't have to worry. Let's say you do something Thursday nights, just watch the video later. It's better to watch it live because you can obviously ask questions and that sort of thing. All right. So the bonuses are you'll get that live series for free included. Anyone that registers by Thursday, October 19th. And the reason I put a date is because I need to get things organized for everyone to start the classes on Monday. So if I leave it too long, then it's just too much of my time getting everything ready. I need a few days to get ready for the class. So Thursday, October 19th at 11 p.m. Pacific time is the deadline to register, and you get the application series free. Plus, I'm going to give you a discount, which I'll talk about in just a moment. So you get the express classes, the investor classes, and then those in the active live or active trader course get the active live session. And if you are a student from last year, 20 years ago, I've had students for 20 years, you can retake all of this material for $195. I'll show you in a moment where you register for that. Okay, the cost, investor course, $2,995. I know we have people here from other parts of the world, so this is Canadian. So for our friends in the US, you can take off about 35% of that because the US dollar is stronger than the Canadian dollar. So investor $29.95, active trader $39.95. If you've taken the course in the past, let's say you took the investor course and you want to upgrade to the active, you can do that for $1,250. That's the difference. To get the discount, you can get $500 off until October 19th, Thursday, 11 p.m., October 19th. Use these codes. So write these down. For the investor course, 500 ITA, that's an I, ITA 23. You're going to enter that at checkout, and it'll give you a $500 discount. Active trader, 500 ATA 23. 500 ATA 23. So how to register? Go to the Stockscores website, go to Trader Training, learn how to trade. There's more information here if you want. And if you want to order the active trader, click on that link. Then you enter in your code. See here it says enter discount code, 500 ATA 23, apply discount, boom, $500 off. You see here it says $300 yearly. You don't pay that today. Like you get it free for 6 months. After 6 months, your renewal rate is $300 a year. You don't have to renew if you'll always have access to the education stuff. The $300 a year is for the market scan. Some of my active trader students don't use the market scan because they're on active live instead. So you don't have to renew if you don't want to. You'll still have access to the education. You'll still have access to the free tools and Stockscores. You just won't have access to the market scan. Okay, so while I look at some questions here, I'll just leave this slide up. These are some things that some of my students have sent me. So someone asking, if I'm trading part-time, say 3 full days a week, which 3 days of the week are best days to trade? I would say Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Next question, what is the brokerage that you recommend? What do you think about Questrade? Well, I don't recommend any. I think it depends on what you're doing. If you're position trading, probably better, well, not necessarily better, but it's fine to be with your bank's brokerage. It's easier to move your money back and forth. You know, time isn't your enemy when you're position trading. When you're active trading, you have to be very quick. Well, not always, but you often have to be quite quick. And so having a software installed trading platform is going to work better. So I use interactive brokers. I think they're great, but they're not the most user-friendly, and their tech support isn't great. So you kind of have to be a little more savvy with the computer than maybe some people are. Questrade is good. I have quite a few of my students on Quest. TD's they have an active service. I don't know if they still have Thinkorswim, but they have an active service as well. Those would be the top 3 among my students. What tools are available free on your Stockscores website? Can I run a scan without paying the $300 per year? You cannot run a scan without being a member and paying the $300 a year. The things that are free are charting, watch list creator, things like that. Can you get live data with Stockscores charts? No, but you can get live data on the same charts that Stockscores uses. It's called TradingView or TraderView. I can remember. If I go here, MSFT, get the Stockscore, whoops. And then if I go interactive chart, TradingView. So this TradingView company, we license their charts, but ours are delayed. But if you go to TradingView, I think it's like a small monthly fee. They'll give you real-time charts, and a lot of people like them. Your broker will also have real-time charts if you're with Interactive Brokers or Quest or Desjardins. There's lots of them. For Alberta residents, what is only 5% tax? Yeah, you only pay 5% tax no matter where you are in Canada on our courses. Actually in Ontario, you have to pay HST. BC, it's 5%, Alberta 5%. HST in Ontario is 13. I can't remember what the other provinces are. And if you're outside of Canada, there's no tax. Is that $500 off the upgrade active? So $750. No, the upgrade is $1,250 with the discount if you want to upgrade from investor to active trader. If part-time active trading, are there better days of the week to do this? Oh, we just talked about that. I think all days are worth trading. Fridays tend to be slower. Mondays tend to have some false signals in the morning. So that's why I say Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Now, while I continue to answer these questions, I'm going to put this poll up. And I know many of you have already answered this poll. So if you have already, you don't need to answer this again. But if you want some follow-up emails, I will send a couple this week. I'm going to try to send some of the performance data for October, just the last up until Friday, on the Alpha Echo strategy, which is, I think, the best performing strategy right now. And so I'll send you the data on that, and that way help you make a decision on whether you want to do this. What is the second best time of the day besides first hour? I think anytime up until noon Eastern time, we get pretty good signals. Later in the afternoon, you get the odd one, but it definitely gets slower. So let's say you can't do the first hour, the second hour is fine. Actually, the profitability of the second hour is higher than the first hour. However, there's not as many signals. So you get a lot more in the first hour. How do you find day trades if you aren't a member of Active Live? Well, I mean, using my methodology, you don't have to be an Active Live. You could just run TradeStation, and I'll teach you how to do that. There's 2 videos on our website about how to use TradeStation yourself. Most people like Active Live because it's just easier. But if you don't want to pay for Active Live and you want to be more independent, then you can run TradeStation yourself. I will email you my action candle indicator, message candle indicator. I have some trend line indicators that I've created. You get all that with the course. Is the course tax deductible? It's tax deductible against investment income, but not as a education expense because it's not full-time education. So you can deduct it against capital gains. Now, I will say that with a caveat. I'm not an accountant, but I know that many of my students have done that. So I would recommend you ask your accountant, but you should be able to as an interest and carrying charge against capital gains. Okay, I think I've got all the questions, and I'll take this poll down now. And again, if you wanted a little bit of follow-up emails in the next few days, then you should have said yes to this, but let me just take this down. I'm going to give it 5 more seconds, just quickly answer this. I don't like to bug people, so if people don't want emails from me, then just say no and I won't send them to you. All right, so let's close that down. And I'll just sort of summarize with a few comments. So why should you do this? I will tell you from having taken 8 years to learn how to do trading, mistakes cost you time and money. The cost of the mistakes will be far more than $2,000, $3,000, $4,000. My 30 years of trading means I'm a bit of an expert on making mistakes and overcoming the hurdles that all traders face. I've taught a lot of people. Everyone makes the same mistakes, and if you send me an email with a few of your trades, I can usually tell you what you're doing wrong. And so having that experience from having done this so long is, I think, a great resource. Not to mention just the costs of building these tools. I mentioned it earlier, market scan tool, that cost me hundreds of thousands of dollars to build. And the tools that I have in TradeStation, hundreds of hours building it, not to mention the programming cost that went into it. So it really is the most cost-effective way to get up and running with an edge. You think about the cost. I have, older kids in university, and the cost that they spend on getting a degree that, basically makes them eligible to be a barista at Starbucks is ridiculous in my mind. You can learn a career here for no more than $4,000 to get you up and running. And you think about running a business. If you went out and wanted to open a sandwich shop, you're going to rent some space. It's going to cost you $1,000 a month. You're going to sit there all day making sandwiches, and at the end of the day, you're not going to make more money as a trader than you would as a trader. Our overhead is our data costs. The active live is $245 a month. You might spend another $100 a month on TradeStation. That's your business overhead, and you're buying and selling just like you might buy and sell bread and sandwiches. It's the beauty of it is you can have the freedom of doing it from wherever you are. I love to travel. I trade when I travel. I go on cruise ships. I prefer the cruise ships with high-speed internet because obviously I want to keep a track of the market. But you can trade from anywhere. I have had the luxury of being able to pack things up, and I moved to Maui and lived on the beach and Kapalua Bay for 6 months, and then I moved to Whistler and lived there for 6 months. I couldn't have done that if I wasn't a trader. So that's some of the freedom that you get from trading. I want to make it as easy and prosperous as I can for you. I take a lot of pride in helping people. It gives me a fair amount of joy when people say, "Hey, I made $1,000 today. Thanks." That's one of the reasons I do this. But at the end of the day, no one cares more about your money than you. So even if you have people managing your money for you, I think you should still know what's going on, because everyone's got lots of clients, and even the best of financial advisors can't do everything for everyone as well as you could do for yourself. So I think it's important to have a role in that. I know a lot about this. People ask me questions every single day. There's no questions that really stump me because I've done it for so long. And so having that person to fall back on and learn from is a big, big plus. Ultimately, we want to avoid the pain and pursue the profit. So the process, just before we wrap up here, again, go to Stockscores.com. First, you have to create a free membership on Stockscores, just so that we have you in our system. And then you go to Trader Training, learn how to trade, register for the course there before Thursday, October 19th. For the active trader and investor courses, when you register online, you're going to get immediate access. So if you register today, you'll have access to the education as soon as you do that. You'll get some emails from us later in the week as I will send you your links for the webinars and things that start on Monday, October 23rd. So those live classes start Monday, October 23rd at 6 p.m. Pacific time. If you can't make one of the classes, again, they are recorded, and that way you can watch them as often as you like later on. Just see if there's any other questions that have come in while I was talking there. Do you need TradeStation if you are an active live subscriber? No, you don't need it. It will, I think, make you better, but you don't need it. And I would say the majority of my students on active live do not have TradeStation, but many of them do. If you're making $5,000 a month trading, then what's $99 a month for TradeStation if it helps you make money? If you're just starting out and you're not really making money yet, then I wouldn't jump into TradeStation right away. Does TradingView give you access to real-time charts on Stockscores? No, not real-time, just delayed, but you can get real-time charts from TradingView. You just have to go to them directly. And also, I would recommend just going to your broker, because they'll often give you real-time charts for free if you are making trades with them. All right, so I think we've pretty much summarized everything we wanted to talk about today. Hope you've enjoyed it. Hope it was insightful for you. And I look forward to helping you learn how to trade the stock market, give you my tools, give you a little bit of the expertise I've gathered over the last 30 years. So I want to thank you all for joining me today, and trade well.